Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Greg, your co-host to the Grilling to Get Away podcast. Welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. We appreciate you listening in. We started this podcast earlier this year, and my co-host, Ben, he is currently serving in the Navy, so I'm on my own, but I like to bring in guests, and this week my guest is Jimmy Z. Jimmy and I have been following each other for the past couple years, and Jimmy is the owner of Show Us Your Meats BBQ. So I'm excited to have him on the show to talk about his journey from starting a Facebook group focused on barbecuing and grilling to eventually starting his own barbecue business. So it's a great conversation, and Jimmy is also a mental health advocate. So we actually dive pretty deep into that as well. So trying to make the connection between smoking meats and mental health. So I'm excited about this one. I really appreciate you listening. If you like it, if you enjoy it, please go ahead, give us a rating and review and share it so people can find us and help spread the word. But here you go. Grilling to Get Away, meats and mental health. Oftentimes, life is demanding, stressful, and just won't stop. When needing to take a break, we like to light up the charcoal and crack open a cold one. The Grilling to Get Away podcast is an ongoing conversation about all things barbecue and grilling, from our backyard to yours. So if you sometimes don't know what the heck you're doing, if you like to learn, and if you don't take yourself too seriously, you're in the right spot. Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Greg, your co-host to the Grilling to Get Away podcast, and I'm so excited. I'm here with my buddy Jimmy. Jimmy, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast.
Greg, I appreciate it very much, very much.
Yeah, so you and I have kind of connected quite a bit over the past few years, and I was really excited to get you on here before, this will be airing on Thanksgiving. So I know you're doing some turkeys today, but why don't you give a little background to the audience here that might not know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent 38 years of my life not knowing what I was going to do when I grew up. And I kind of fell into the barbecue thing about a year and a half ago. Prior to that, February of last year, I was standing in my kitchen and I knew that I had, a handful of friends who like to grill and smoke meats and post pictures of it. And at the time I could grill a hot dog and a cheeseburger and someone would complain about the cheeseburger. Like, that was the extent of my knowledge. But I decided I'm going to start a group. That'll be fun. We'll get a few dozen people and, share stories and recipes and whatnot. In the almost 2 years of existence now, we are close to 6,300 members. We're in 40 plus countries. I have interpreters, in Baghdad that share their recipes, their family meals. They network with people back here that they've never met, wishing each other happy birthday, things like that. So it's really, again, when it started, I had zero intention of it becoming what it has. As last year went on, I pushed myself and I bought myself my pellet smoker. Then I met a guy named Greg Fischer. Some of you may know him, who convinced me, talked me into doing the competition that he hosted last year, ribs and tri-tip. And I didn't even know what a tri-tip is, and I had never cooked ribs in my life. So I got talked into it, and lo and behold, out of the 16 or 17 teams, Show Us Your Meats team took first place in tri-tip and instantly hooked. My younger brother and I built a homemade smoker using 55-gallon drums, and I used that all winter long here in Wisconsin. Cold weather, not insulated, and made a lot of memories, made a lot of mistakes, and then made a lot of progress along the way. As the winter went on, I actually began to get, I was getting booked for various paying events. So I'm like, okay, this is real. This is taking off. So I got my license, my certifications, my LLC, my trademark, everything. By the time March rolled around, I was still working, Monday through Friday, commuting 600 miles a week. I said, that's it. If I'm going to do this, I have to do this my way, and I have to do it full time. So I, kind of did what you did a few years back, left the corporate America thing, and haven't looked back since. And it's been unbelievable to think about. I mean, you knew me when it was just a group. When I first met you, you were a vendor at Rib Fest 2 years ago. And I mean, I was excited because I don't even remember if I didn't even have a koozie yet with the logo. So it was just a group of people sharing pictures and stories. So now it's a business. And on top of it being a business, it's a therapeutic outlet that I know we're going to get into here in a little bit, but I don't know. I'm very, very blessed, very fortunate to be able to do it.
Yeah, no, it's been exciting to watch your growth over the past few years. Yeah, I remember when you first started the group, and I was like, okay, who's this guy? You know, we met at Rib Fest, and then, you know, was seeing what you were doing with the mental health awareness in your group. And your group is called, you know, Show Us Your Meats. Right. And, you know, I'll put links to all of your, you know, social media stuff, you know, in our show notes so people can find you and join the group. But, sure. And then, yeah, like you said, you exploded, man. You just kind of went on this journey of, you know, trying out barbecue and then eventually starting a business from it. So right. It's been awesome to watch you grow. And I think that pink koozie up there in that glass is one of your koozies, the first one you gave me. So, nice. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. So talk a little bit more about, you know, what, you know, you made that decision to leave your corporate job to go into this thing, barbecue full time. You know, what gave you the confidence to do it?
Again, it's funny. When I started the group, I could grill a hot dog and a cheeseburger. That was the extent of it. Never in my life did I ever plan or think about or anything having to do with barbecue, with cooking, with not having a full-time secure paycheck each week. Just never had that thought. Throughout last winter, when I was still working full-time, but I had all these gigs, my confidence was really, really boosted because of mistakes I was making, but then two, because I was learning from those mistakes. I was listening to, you know, guys that have been doing this a while. You know, I talked to you a lot. I talked to Chad Shortridge with American Made Barbecue, and he's been a mentor to me. You know, a few other guys in the group that have really guided me and allowed me their time, you know, to ask questions and to bounce things off of them. And fortunately, my community is a great community, and we had a lot of events over the last year and a half, whether it be benefits, fundraisers, craft fairs, things like that. I was able to volunteer time, hone the skills, and really learn what I was doing. So, yeah, it's been great. The whole leaving corporate America thing, I was working a job, and it was a decent job, but at the end of the day, it was a paycheck, and it was for somebody else. So it wasn't for me. And it was frustrating. So when I finally found this, again, most everyone has an outlet. You know, it's mechanics, it's the gym, it's music, it's gardening, whatever it is. It took me 38 years to find this. And I'm glad I did, because, I mean, if you don't like barbecue, something's not right.
Yeah. Barbecue tends to bring people together. So that's why I love it. And so I'm inspired by your story, because you went out and you volunteered and you gave your time to hone the skills before you sought to get paid for it. So I think that's very important. You know, you're kind of, you know, growing your skills and volunteering before you were actually looking to get paid from it. So I think that's testament to kind of your commitment to it. You weren't looking to make a quick buck. You were looking to actually learn the skills to make yourself better. Right. And then you went about it and started your own business. So I think that's a key point. And I want to get into the mental health thing a little bit in just a minute, but you know, we're going to air this on Thanksgiving. I know you got a cook coming up for a bunch of turkeys. So who are you cooking for, and how many turkeys are you doing right now?
So I'll touch on the mental health thing for a second as I answer this. I've been in really, really dark places and not knowing if I was going to find my way out. And a lot of that is just due to my own, you know, stupidity and poor choices and, you know, things in my life that I've let control me. Finding this outlet in grilling and smoking, again, it's therapeutic, but it's also fun. That being said, with trying to balance the mental health part of it, I also want to do everything I can to help those in need, because I've been in places and times when I've been in need. and just felt very, very alone. So I reached out to the local community here and I said, look, I understand. And I know, especially now inflation's crazy. Everything's expensive. People are bouncing back from the Rona and, jobs are this and that. Just everything's expensive. I'm fortunate at this moment to be in a position to help out. So that's something I wanted to do. So I just reached out and I said, look, I do have a barbecue catering business, but this has nothing to do with the business. This is just for my community. If you're in need, I'd be happy to fire up the smoker and, make a turkey for you for Turkey Day. So as of now in my folks' garage, I think I've got 14 turkeys that are 10 to 12 pounds. And then I had one donated that's every bit of 30 plus pounds. I mean, This sucker is massive. So yeah, it's all going to hit the smoker tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And then folks will be by early afternoon to pick up their turkey dinners. And I'm just, like I said, I've become such an advocate for, if you're able to, be there for someone. For all I know, someone might take a turkey tomorrow and not say thank you. Someone might take a turkey tomorrow and say, my goodness, this just made my whole year. So if I'm able to, that's what I want to be able to keep doing.
So that's great, man. You're giving back to the community. You're cooking some turkeys. I want to get into the barbecue side of it. So how are you prepping the turkeys? Are you brining them? How are you planning on smoking them? Why don't you talk us through that process?
Yeah, so this is great. I posted this in my group the other day about prepping turkeys. And in my life, again, I'm still fairly new to this, right?
Sure.
I've never brined anything. And I don't plan to. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, that's fine. Maybe I'll do it someday. I've never spatchcocked a bird. I don't plan to. If that's what you do, that's great. Maybe I will. But for these, I'm going to do what I have done with chickens and turkeys in the past. I'm going to inject it. Obviously, it's a very lean meat. Inject with chicken broth. I'll mix some seasoning in there, a little bit of butter in there, liquid butter, and inject them. And then I'll rub it with mustard and then salt, pepper, garlic again. Salt, pepper, garlic is my go-to. That's my barbecue theme and style is Texas style. And that's real basic, but really, really bold flavor. And I really put that seasoning on just about everything. Even outside of meat, pasta, eggs, the salt, pepper, garlic is just phenomenal to me. And with the injections in there, and that's some juicy birds. Ultimately I'm happy with. And like I said, I'm not against grinding. I'm not against other methods. That's been the beauty of the group is there's no judgment one way or the other. I might get picked on for it, but ultimately nobody's going to say that's stupid. Don't do that. That's kind of what we love about that group. So yeah, that's my method. May not be right. May not be wrong.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, there's, at least in my opinion, there's no right or wrong way unless you're, totally out there. But so it sounds like you're just doing really basic salt, pepper, garlic, which, I'm a huge advocate for. You can do just about anything with just those three ingredients. Right. A little bit of butter, it sounds like maybe. And you're just going to let it go. Now I know you got a big rig. Are you smoking them all on that rig?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to home base it at my folks' house. And actually I just dropped it off about an hour ago. But yeah, I'll be out there about 6:00 tomorrow morning to get the fire going, get everything prepped and get them going so that they're ready by about 12:30, 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. And what type of wood do you think you're going to be going with for this one?
This is all pear wood. So going back to, and you've been here almost since day one, last summer, we did a fundraiser for a local guy named Colton Lazzaroni, who needed a heart. And again, at the time I had my smoker, my pellet smoker, but I had nothing to do with the smoking of the meats. That was Chad Shortridge with American Made Barbecue. And that was Roger Opledal with Reverend Red's Barbecue. They did all the meat smoking. But we became very close with the family. Ultimately, Colton passed away this past March. But again, staying close with the family. His dad, Colton's dad, donated a trailer full of that pear wood. So that's what I'll be using for this cook. Okay.
Wow, that's super interesting that he so he knew this was a passion of yours and he just had a pear tree, cut it down. He's like, hey, I'm going to give this to you. Okay. Yeah.
Another neighbor in the community who was big with the fundraiser and, very close with him. They had it in their yard. He cut it down and cut it all up into chunks for me.
Okay. Nice. And how long are you anticipating that cooking 14 birds is going to take you?
I'm thinking I'm going to give it about between 6 and 7 hours.
Okay.
Obviously, with that allotted time, I can control the temperature. I can control the cook time. I'll get to a certain point where I'll want to make sure I can wrap and let it rest comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, a couple times I've gotten complacent where I had to rush and, really hit the fire because I've gotten a little bit, behind. But I want to make sure I give myself plenty of time to get the birds just right.
Okay. So when they're on there, are you keeping it like at 225, 250, or what's your ideal temp you're looking for?
I'm shooting for 250 to 275.
Okay.
And that way I know it's going to cook thoroughly. And if it gets done a little bit earlier, that's okay. Because then you can, like I said, you can wrap it, you can manage it, put them in a cooler to keep them warm. The smoker itself has the warming box on the back. So, yeah, I'm more comfortable doing a 250 to 275 for time.
Okay. Are you going to be basting it at all? Are these going to be in like a dish or like a pan and you're going to be basting it? How are you going to do that process?
Yep. Throughout the cook, again, keeping an eye on the temps and everything. I'll be in there with spray, with a mop if I need to keep them nice and liquidy so that when the end product comes out, I'm hoping, because I'm sorry, that's the dogs. Yeah, we've had dry turkey before, and my goal is to make sure that doesn't happen. So,
okay, and pulling it off like 165, is that the goal?
165, 170. That's the ideal goal there, and that's what we're shooting for. It should be just about right.
And then letting them rest, and then the family's going to come over, pick them up. And are you doing any sides with it, or is it just straight up birds?
For 3 families, I offered to do macaroni as well. And same thing. We get the macaroni and cheese, level it out with some salt, pepper, garlic. And that's some of the best you've ever had, especially when it's on the smoker and it gets that brown coating on top.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff right there.
Nice, man. Well, it sounds like you got it all figured out. I'm looking forward to seeing. I know you'll be posting some updates here in your group on Thanksgiving. So I'll be watching and making sure, seeing what's going on. But with your group too, you do something that is pretty unique, and I haven't seen it in any other groups. Is that you go on every Monday, or at least you try to get on every Monday when you can, and you do a kind of what you call a meats and mental health Monday. So you get on and you talk about your cooks, but then you also talk about maybe some struggles or some things that you're dealing with in the mental game. So why don't you talk about how that started? And then also kind of the response that you've gotten from the group that you're in and that you started.
Yeah, absolutely. So me doing the Facebook Live started last summer, 14 months ago, whatever it was. I was on my deck and I was grilling, and I just decided to do a live and talk about like what I was feeling at the time, like how good it felt to be grilling, just the therapy that I get from it. Right. And I think I did it again a week later, then a week later, and then it just stuck. Again, like the group came out of nowhere, just came out of nowhere. So Meats and Mental Health Monday was kind of created from that. I wanted to get a couple of points across. One, I'm not talking to only veterans unless I specifically mentioned, like Irreverent Warriors, that's geared just for veterans or something. I'm not talking to only veterans. I'm talking to everybody because everybody goes through things. Case in point, I just mentioned Dave Lazzaroni, Colton's father. He's buried 2 children. And I can't imagine, the heartache, and the mental, struggles that he deals with. So that's the first one. The second point I want to get across is that I'm very transparent about stuff I've been through. And I do that for a reason, because I don't want people to think that I'm just, making something up and I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm transparent about the fact that, I used to drink a lot and I used to be angry and I had narcissistic streaks in me, and it cost me a lot of relationships, cost me a lot of friendships. And I want to be able to put that all out there because I spent a lot of time in denial and saying, nope, that's not me. That's somebody else. That's not me. I'm not depressed. I don't have PTSD. I don't like those words. I'm not going to talk mental health. And you just push and push and push until you eventually find yourself in a very, very lonely, dark spot. And the most basic of functions going to the grocery store, going to the gas station. Like, you just can't bring yourself to do it because you're just in such a dark place. So with mine, many times I don't know how I'm going to make it. I don't see a reason to make it. I don't have kids. I don't have, a lot of things that a lot of people do. So what difference does it make? I would think about my mother, my grandma, and I just keep going and keep grinding until I finally dug out of that hole, came across this whole grilling and smoking thing. And, and I'll be the first to say, you're never going to beat and conquer mental health issues. I mean, to some extent, something's always going to linger and be there. But as long as you can recognize it and push through it, you're going to be all right. One of the biggest terms that angers me is someone will say to somebody dealing with stuff is get over it. You don't get over it. You battle it, you fight through it, you get through it. You just can't get over it. Like, just shrug it off. And that's something I learned, along the way. So I'm glad that this took off, the mental health part of it. I was cooking at Libertyville Harley, Lakeshore Harley last November, I believe. And I'd been out there all night long, all by myself. And about 8:00 in the morning, I'm starting to pull meat to wrap and get everything ready for service. And this little old car comes in the parking lot, comes ripping right up to me. And he opens his trunk, and I don't know who he is. He opens his trunk, and he's got a trunk full of whiskey barrel wood that he wants to give me. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm thinking he's in the group, and he knew I was there because that's what I had posted.
Yeah.
So he introduces himself a little bit, and we get to talking, and he's like, look, man, you don't know me. I don't know you. But that mental health thing you do each week, you have to keep doing that. He's like, you have no idea that you're talking to me every single week. And I mean, just feedback like that. I mean, even if it's just, if that was the only feedback I ever got was from that one person, it's worth it. It's worth it. So it was incredible to hear that. And then I've heard other people mention it too. This past week, there's a gentleman in the group who mentioned he actually made appointments for some counseling sessions for himself because of the positivity in the group and to talk about mental health, and that we're trying to erase the stigma. And, so it's been a blessing for sure. When 3-4 years ago, I thought I had no purpose and I wasn't going to get a purpose, to now here we are. There's the business side of it, but then there's the mental health side of it that's really helping people. And that's been huge.
Yeah, I would say, just from an outsider watching, it seems like that piece, that authentic piece, is what's helped you grow so fast as people connect to that message. And, I like to say sometimes, we go through those periods in time, like your mess is your message, right? So, so the things that you had to go through to get to this point, allow you to reach people that are going through something similar. So I think that's awesome, man. And I've seen it, you continue to grow and give back as much as you can, whether you're doing those, just hopping on a live on Facebook for 15 minutes, connecting with people, or giving back to the community like you're doing this Thanksgiving with turkeys and stuff. So I think it's inspiring. And that's part of what barbecue is. It's, not only, cooking for ourselves and for our families, but trying to find ways how we can give back through food. And I mean, that's why we, named this podcast Grilling to Get Away, because when Ben and I sat down and we were thinking about a name, we're like, why do we do what we do? Well, we grill to get away from the stressors, the things in life. So Why don't we just name it that? So I can totally relate to you using barbecue and grilling as a way to kind of cope with some stuff. So appreciate you being open and transparent with that stuff, because I think that's what allows people to connect with you. So it's been great to see that growth and the success you've had from it because of the authenticity of it. So and I think that's awesome that people have gotten help because of your message. So so aside from that, like, what's been the biggest kind of takeaway that you've had going through this journey of starting, a barbecue group to your own business to where you're at right now, that maybe was surprising to you?
So in our area, you're familiar with the area. There's not a lot of barbecue here. There's where I'm at in Lake Geneva. There's one place about 20 miles away, and they're okay. So in order to do this and do it well, you have to learn. You have to make mistakes. You have to learn from those mistakes. Last December, I was cooking up in Menominee Falls for an event. It was a Christmas fest. And I think I was at the point of complacency, and I thought I had it nailed and I knew what I was doing. So I was serving a brisket one night, and one customer brought the brisket back and he said, I can't eat this. I want my money back. Another person wrote a negative review online, and it essentially crushed me. I wasn't mad that they did it. I was mad that they felt they needed to, because that meant I failed. That meant that I screwed something up, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So, and I say this all the time, I spent 13 years in the military. My entire life, I've never been as motivated and as passionate about anything as I am about barbecue now. And I try to make it a vow that I won't screw up again. I will, but I mean, I take it much more personally. So what I've learned throughout this journey is, this is, especially if it's going to be a livelihood, I can't go in, half cocked on this. Like, I got to do it right. And I got to follow all the rules and really make a positive name for the brand itself. And then for, my own name. So it's been a journey, and it's still going. People ask, are you going to do a brick and mortar one day? What are you going to end up doing? I was like, I have no idea. A year ago, I didn't know I was doing this. So yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind, but I wouldn't trade it. We've got more events coming up here. Still working on convincing the local populace that barbecue is not a season, because we can smoke meat. We can smoke them meats all year long. Like I said, last year I did the Winterfest in Lake Geneva on the homemade smoker that wasn't insulated, and gaps and cracks all over the place, negative temperatures. And, I'm smoking 80 pounds of pork butt out there. So yeah, for all you listeners out there, barbecue doesn't have a season.
Yeah, no, we grill and barbecue all year round. And those are some of the best cooks, so, but I am interested to hear, so with those negative reviews and, comments on that brisket, when you went back, where was it lacking? What happened, in the process?
Yep. So part of it was not catering to the weather. So I was making sandwiches, right? Okay. I didn't figure out, I wasn't planning ahead on keeping buns warm, making sure the sides were going to get done. Cause at this point I was doing macaroni. And I had a charcoal grill mounted on my smoker on the trailer. So what I was doing while the smoker was full of meat, I was going to use charcoal, heat that up, and then cook all the sides in there. So it's a couple hours before service time. I can't get the charcoal lit because it had been wet. So I didn't plan on that. I wasn't paying attention to it. So service time is at 5:00. By 5:30, I've got frozen buns. I've got sides that aren't ready yet. And then I started to rush like on the brisket, and I didn't get it up to temp. And it was just, I tried to rush. I tried to do too much that I wasn't prepared for. So it was definitely a learning experience for sure. And each time I go to a new event, I'm learning more again, like, okay, I got to make sure I have this. I need to make sure I have that. So yeah, constantly learning. It felt like a punch to the gut, but it is what it is. And I know a lot of people say, well, you're not going to make everybody happy. No, I understand that. But when I failed and I dropped the ball, that's the part that affected me. Now, someone is like, I just don't like it. Well, then I can't help you with that because it's freaking delicious. So
yeah, everybody's taste buds are different. So you can't take it to heart if somebody doesn't like your stuff. But it sounds like for you, it was more about the process of not feeling like you were prepared in time to serve. Now, do you think it was just a timeline thing or weather thing, or, did you not have enough hands to help? Is there something in there that you learned that you took with you to the next event?
Yeah. So that was that homemade smoker, right? I didn't have a warming box and there was no insulation. Now that I've got this other smoker here, it's got insulation, it's got the warming box. So that's a spot where I can keep buns warm, right? I can prep the meat and have it sit in the warming box rather than, if service is at 5 and I'm starting to slice a brisket at 5:05 with people standing in line. And when that's happening, as I'm slicing, the meat's getting colder and colder and colder. So it's all these little nuances that you learn. Again, having this smoker with all of its amenities definitely helps. The warming box, the storage, and all that stuff that I didn't have with the homemade one. So yeah, all these little things you learn along the way, and has been very helpful. So I don't keep screwing things up.
But I think that's the key point, is that you're out there, you're trying, and the only way you can learn is by doing. So, no, I definitely understand. Like, there's going to be some, growth pains as you get out there and put yourself out there. So I'm glad you're, still doing it and learning from it. So that's awesome. We do have like a lot of, new grillers and barbecuers that listen or watch the podcast. So if you could go back to 2 years ago when you were first starting, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Patience, definitely patience. Don't think because you may have nailed one cook that you've got it all figured out, because I've certainly made that mistake before. Listen to multiple people, not just one. You can turn on Barbecue Pitmasters and line up Myron Mixon, Aaron Franklin, and Tuffy Stone and put a brisket in front of them. These guys are all world champions. They're going to cook it all differently. And that fascinated. That actually almost angered me when I first learned that, because I thought there was one way and one way only.
Yeah.
But no, it's, you've got different methods. So do what you like. Test what you want to test. Go the way you want to go. If you've got a good friend or a buddy that's been doing it for years and he says, do it this way, sure, do it that way. But then when you get to the finish line, figure out what you want to tweak. Okay, that was good and I enjoyed the cook, but I'm not so big on the flavor. Let me try, something sweet or something hotter, whatever. So don't be afraid to play around and try different methods for sure. It's been a fun process doing that.
Yeah, keep learning, and then also try your own stuff too. So I think that's an awesome part of the process and good advice. And then aside from your smoker or grill, what's one piece of equipment that you can't live without?
Ooh, good question. It's got it as basic as it sounds. It's the insulated gloves for the smoker, and it's a spatula to move stuff around in the smoker if I don't have those gloves. Because without it, I'm like doing the whole like hot and so basic as it sounds, it's those little things. And I've shown up before to a cook and I'm like, I don't have that. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I can cut out pieces of cardboard and make it look like a spatula and maybe that'll help or something. But yeah, it's those little basic things that you really take for granted.
Yeah. So keeping it simple, spatula, some meat gloves, insulated meat gloves, so you can move the meat and stuff like that. So that's a good tip. Good tip for those that, are looking to add equipment to their arsenal. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me a little bit more about, your group, show us your meats, and then also your business, what you've been doing in your journey. So I'll make a plug for you here. I'll put the link to your group in our show notes so people can find you, show us your meats. And then on Mondays, you do a meats and mental health Mondays, and kind of in the evening time where you get on there live and you talk about kind of what you're going through, and anything else. Where else can people find you?
So the group itself, the one that we really hit on and where I do the Meats and Mental Health Monday, that is a group on Facebook, Show Us Your Meats. There's also a page on Facebook, and that's Show Us Your Meats BBQ. And that's where you'll see more of the events posted and more business related stuff. Show Us Your Meats BBQ. And then there's also a website, showusyourmeatsbbq.com. So it's all out there.
All right, man. Yeah. We'll put links to all those so people can find you. But Jimmy, man, I really appreciate you hopping on here, and sharing your story, and looking forward to seeing you grow some more here, coming up in the next few years.
Yeah. And you as well, my friend. We've worked together a few times, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
All right. Thank you so much, man.
All right, brother.
Well, there you have it. I really enjoyed Jimmy's conversation about his journey from where he started a few years ago to where he's at right now. and really his passion and his mission around mental health and bringing that to the forefront in just about everything he does. It's pretty obvious that Jimmy has a strong commitment to continue to serve others in his community and his groups. So, you can always go out and follow him. We put the links to his groups and his business in the show notes. Show us your meats. So go out, give him a follow. If you happen to catch him on a Meats and Mental Health Monday, give him a shout out and let him know you heard about it on the Growing to Get Away podcast. But we appreciate you listening. Hopefully you found some value in this episode. If you did, please continue to like and subscribe and give us a rating and share this episode with somebody who might need it. And if you are interested in being on the podcast, there's also a link to my calendar. Looking to have more conversations with people who are just barbecuing and grilling in the backyard, sharing their stories and their journeys, and then also some recipes and tips and stuff that they've learned along the way. But appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening. And we hope that you're getting a chance to get out and grill. Cheers.